So today I'll be talking about constructive alternatives when we feel defensive or distracting the criticism or striking back when it happens. This is from the book Conversationally Speaking by Garner. Step 1, ask for details. This alternative involves 2 steps, the first of which is to ask for details. Criticism is often given in generalities. I don't like your attitude, you don't care about me. Requesting particulars will enable you to find out exactly what the other person's objections are. The skill is neither an offensive weapon nor a defensive shield. It's a tool for understanding. It's simple to ask for details. Like a reporter, all you do is pose questions designed to find out who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who did I embarrass? Just what did I do that leads you to say I don't care? When did I ignore you? Where did I make a fool of myself? Why do you feel that I should stay home more? Exactly how do I act when you say I turn you off? Just trying to find balance. 1 second. In helping the other person to clarify her remarks, you may want to ask for details by suggesting possible complaints and asking whether they're a problem. And since your goal is understanding, once you find out, you may even want to ask whether she has any additional complaints to make. Since most people who criticize you probably expect you to respond defensively, make sure your voice carries no hint of sarcasm. Here are some examples which further illustrate how this skill works. You don't care about me. Why do you say that? You'll be nicer if you did. What would you like me to do? Do you feel I don't care about you because I didn't let you bring the friend to the ball game with us? No. Is it because I didn't buy you candy? Yeah. All the other kids got to eat snow cones and cotton candy and I didn't. Wow, that was a good example. Boy, are you a cheapskate is the next example. What's wrong? Didn't I tip the waitress enough? No, it's not that. Do you think I should have gotten us a cab? Well, it is shaping up to be an awfully long walk. The author writes, in my seminars, I often have an exercise in which students are invited to point out some real or imagined shortcoming of mine while I ask for details. Here's how one such exercise in Long Beach went. I don't like a lot of the things about you. Could you be more specific? Your clothing. Is it my socks, my shoes, my shirt, or my pants? I like flared pants better. Anything else? No, everything else is okay. How about the color of my pants? Is it okay? Yes, I like it. There's something about the way you teach this class I don't like. What do I do that you don't like? The material, it's useful, but there's a lot to learn. Are you saying you wish I'd cut down on the number of skills I teach? Maybe that you wish the class was longer? No, I wish you'd go slower, add a few more examples, and allow a bit more time for practice. By using this skill, encourage these students to respond in greater depth and to examine their own thinking. Although further questioning revealed Alice's objections were given in jest, I found that Michael's were genuine. It was only because I was able to ask for details that I learned this valuable information. I have, in fact, altered the course in response and feel that everyone is better off for it. Had I changed the subject, explained why I taught the classes I did, or told Michael the problem was that he's slow, I never would have received the benefit of his valuable insight, and Conversationally Speaking, the book, might never have improved. It's especially useful to ask for details when you think your critic might have an ulterior motive, as may be seen in the following dialogue related to me by a Ventura, California broker named Todd. Hello. Hi, Todd. What you doing? Hi, Charlie. I'm right in the middle of the Vikings-49ers game. The Vikings are ahead by 2 touchdowns. Are you really wasting this beautiful afternoon watching football? What is there about my watching football you don't like? Nothing, Todd. I just thought you might want to get into some tennis. Todd's use of the skill rapidly ended Charlie's attempt of manipulation. Rather than getting enmeshed in an argument about the merits of football or of watching TV in the afternoon, it allowed Todd to quickly find out what was really in Charlie's mind. Charlie benefited because this technique made it easy for him to say what he really wanted. It also allowed him to examine his right-wrong structure to whether he really feels it's wrong to watch TV on a Saturday afternoon. Occasionally, when you ask for details, you'll find what you thought was criticism really wasn't. One time, for instance, I delivered a lecture before a class at the University of Oregon on Plato's view in the nature of reality. The talk was well received, so I was surprised when a friend named Sherry came up and said, "What are you still wasting your time with Plato?" I was tempted to strike back and inquire how she, a physical education major who whiles away much of her life playing badminton, could have the nerve to criticize for my interest in Plato. Instead, I asked, why do you think this is a waste of time? To my surprise, she replied, I just think your real talent lies in psychology and in teaching people to be terrific. Step 2, agree with the criticism. After you ask for details and find out exactly what the other person's objections are, the next step is simply agree with the criticism. But how can you agree with criticism? It's plainly wrong. Simple, there's 2 types of agreement statements, and you can always use one or the other while at the same time maintaining your own position. Here are your options. 1, agree with the truth. If you listen to your critics non-defensively, you'll frequently find yourself agreeing that much of what they have to say is valid, accurate, or pretty likely, in your opinion, to come to pass. When this is the case, your most powerful response is to agree with the truth. Consider these examples related by students and the defensive remarks that they might have made. You got sand in our camera when you took it to the river. Husband, you're right. Next time I'll keep it in a paper bag. Next time don't ask me to bring it. I'm going for a walk. So the second comment, next time don't ask me to bring it, I'm going for a walk, is in parentheses. It wasn't necessary when you agree with the criticism. Here, John, you certainly didn't do a good job of negotiating that turn. Larry, I agree. I did turn too sharply. I'll try to slow down before turning next time. And in parentheses, I did the best I could with my old car. Howard, you always want to go to the movies. Eve, that's true. I do like to go at least once a week. In parentheses, she would have wanted to say, and you always want to play cards. Next example, Joyce. I don't think you should quit your job. You got seniority. If business turns bad, you'll be the last to go. On any new job, you'd be the first. Kenny, good point. Maybe I should think about this more. In parentheses, what do you know about the working world? You never had a job. Mom, if you go out dancing tonight, you'll be tired in the morning. Daughter, that's likely, but it's worth it to me. In parentheses, you never want me to have any fun. Michelle, that condo may be beautiful, but it's 30 miles farther from work. If we move in there, we won't see each other as much, and our marriage is likely to suffer. Mark, that's a real possibility, though I'd love to live in the country. In parentheses, look, there are talkers and there are doers. Let's be doers. So now the author says, you'll note that although every one of these examples agreed with the truth, no one put themselves or herself down, him or herself down. Instead, they assumed what Thomas Harris calls an I'm okay, you're okay position vis-a-vis their critics. By contrast, avoiding the issue and excusing their behavior would have put them in an I'm not okay, you're okay position. Striking back would have put them in a I'm okay, you're not okay position. By practicing this response, you'll feel more comfortable in situations that formerly left you and your critics upset. Still, if you often demand perfection of yourself and strive for unanimous approval, you may find it helpful to turn to chapter 12 at this point. Okay. It's simple to learn to agree with the truth. The first step is to think about whether the criticism directed at you is accurate or likely in your estimation to come to pass. If you have frequently been receiving the same criticism, you may wish to look particularly closely for evidence to back up these objections. Just gonna have a sip of tea. When you agree with criticism, you can most effectively acknowledge your agreement by repeating the key words used by your critic. You're going to be late. That's true. I'm going to be late. You didn't clean your room. You're right. I didn't clean my room. This does a far better job of showing your critic that she or he has been heard rather than just saying yes or that's right. If you intend to change in response to the criticism, agreeing with the truth and then stating what you expect to do differently will normally restore harmony. Even if you don't intend to change, you'll improve the situation by assertively saying so. After agreeing with the truth and admitting that your behavior may be a problem for the other person, your critic will be satisfied that the problem has at least been acknowledged and will probably respect you for being so forthright. Certainly, he'll like you better than if you had agreed, pretended you're going to work on the problem, and then carried on as before. Often, criticism will be delivered to you in uncategorical terms, using words like always or never to describe your behavior. You're always late. You never ask for my opinion, or labeling you. You're stupid, a failure, slow, selfish. When you're confronted with criticism that's obviously too broad, you can agree with the part that you think is true and disagree with the rest. Citing proof will most effectively help you to back up your disagreements. These interchanges occurred during the course of a workshop for therapists. Edwin, you're always late. Alan, I certainly am late today, although I've been early every other day this month. Pamela, you never remember my birthday. Sally, I did in fact forget your birthday last week, but I threw your birthday party the year before. Harry, you certainly are a slow eater. Myra, I'm eating rather slowly tonight, though last time we went out I finished before you. Jerry, you blew that big sale. What a failure you are. David, well, in this instance, I certainly did fail, but I made 5 pretty big sales last week. Notice that several of these therapists made affirmative self-statements in disagreeing with criticism. Affirming your abilities and past successes help build your confidence and help others see you have a positive self-image. Last week, I experienced the significance of making positive self-statements while running on the track at Cal State Long Beach. Bill, you're only running 3 miles. I'm shooting for 10. Alan, 10 miles is farther than 3, and I think both of us are doing pretty good. Contrast my response with the message I might have sent Bill and myself, and I replied, I guess my 3 miles is nothing compared to what you're doing. Sometimes critics will cite general truths in urging you to do what they want you to do. Even here, it's completely possible for you to agree with the truth, yet still reject your critics' conclusions. You may agree with the general truth, for example, that it's important to save for your old age, but doesn't necessarily follow that you can't even buy a new outfit, eat out, see a first-run movie, or go away from home on vacation. Of course not. You may agree that it's important to help your fellow men and women, but must you therefore give to your critic's favorite charity? Ridiculous. You will lead an absurd and miserable life. Indeed, if you always try to follow all the general truths you believe. Besides, general truths frequently contradict one another. A stitch in time may save 9, but then again, haste makes waste. Given these facts, when somebody cites some general truth, you can quite legitimately agree with the truth while maintaining your position. Consider these dialogues. Gail, put down your work for an hour or 2, and let's go swimming. You need exercise to keep healthy. Bobby, I agree that I need exercise to keep healthy, but I've got to defend a client in court tomorrow, so I cannot swim today. So what he did is he agrees with the truth and self-discloses. Rhonda, what do you mean you're not going to help me collect newspapers? You know each of us has to chip in if we're going to save the environment. Charlotte, I agree that we all need to do our part, but I wouldn't feel comfortable collecting newspapers. Agrees with the truth and self-discloses. Mother, you really should give up selling used cars and come into the family business where you belong. Too much pressure isn't good for you. Son, you're right in saying too much pressure isn't good, Mom, but I'm enjoying my job and I plan to keep it. Agrees with the truth and self-discloses. In these simple interchanges, Bobby, Claudine, Charlotte, and the son don't just agree with the general truth, they also self-disclose. They didn't provide long, involved justifications for their behavior, but they do choose to explain it. Imagine, if you will, what might happen in Bobby's friendship with Gail if she didn't self-disclose and frequently had dialogues like this. Gail, put down your work for an hour or 2 and let's go swimming. You need to exercise to keep healthy. Bobby, I agree I need exercise to keep healthy, but no thanks. What do you mean no thanks? Are you busy? Do I have bad breath? What? Just no thanks. If the other person is being manipulative, if you really don't want to explain your reasons, or if your reasons are based upon your physical or emotional state, you may wish to follow Charlotte's example and agree and self-disclose your feelings. Disclosing feelings is an excellent strategy, as it leaves the other person with little to counter, since feelings afford slim ground for argument. Rhonda could say to Charlotte that she shouldn't feel the way she does, but then Charlotte would counter, you may be right, but I do. Number 2, agree with the critic's right to an opinion. This is the second path of agreeing with criticism. You'll often disagree with your critic's prediction about the consequences of your behavior. If you go out walking tonight, you'll probably get mugged. If you keep spending so much on clothes, you'll wind up in the poorhouse. You're gonna get fat eating so much spaghetti. You can't be absolutely sure that you won't get mugged, wind up in the poorhouse, or get fat. Nothing in life is certain, and critics often do turn out to be correct. This was just brought home to me dramatically tonight while I was driving to the library to finish this chapter. I had a huge blowout in the fast lane of the San Diego freeway, just what a friend had said was likely to happen if I bought cheap tires. Cheap tires. I thought the odds were with me, but it turned out I was wrong. Since you can't be certain your criticism will prove to be inaccurate, even when you disagree with it, you can certainly agree with your critic's right to an opinion. Doing so will help you to give some thought to differing points of view, while at the same time helping you to maintain your own position. Neither you nor your critics need to be branded as wrong. I think I have 5 pages left. Or not okay. You're simply 2 people who see the issue differently. Consider these examples. Dirk, if you buy silver now, you lose your shirt. Silver is due for another big plunge. Silver knows that, but industrial use is so great, it's just bound to skyrocket within a year or 2. Agrees with the critic's right to an opinion. Jane, maybe you should call off the wedding. With the divorce rate the way it is, you're almost bound to fail. Merle, I respect your opinion, Jane, but I think if I try hard, I can make this marriage work. And this is agreeing to the critic's right to an opinion and self-disclosing. Lydia, with a baby on the way, you should double your life insurance. It might come in handy someday. Curtis, a lot of men have died unexpectedly. Maybe I'll regret not following your advice, but right now, other priorities are more pressing. Agrees with the critic's right to an opinion and self-discloses. Critics will often present you with value judgments as though they are truths And your most constructive response, once again, is to agree with the critic's right to an opinion. For example, Carol, how can you read such a trashy magazine? Why not read Shakespeare dramas or at least Steinbeck, for example, Dumas, or at least Steinbeck, for example, for a change? Judy, I can see what you might think that National Lampoon is a bit gross, Carol, but I think it's funny. Agrees with the critic's right to an opinion and self-discloses. Becky, I think you should quit your job. With your education, you could do a lot better. Phyllis, thanks for the compliment. Not too many cocktail waitresses have graduated from college, and it's easy for me to see why you think I could do better. But the truth is, I like the hours and the money. Agrees with the critic's right to an opinion and self-discloses. Dan, how do you buy a Nissan? Don't you know that a Toyota is a much better car? Sandy, Toyota certainly have sleek lines and good mileage, but I like the handling of a Nissan better. She agrees with the critic's right to an opinion and self-discloses. When you totally disagree with your criticism, you may wish to voice the disagreement, but then again, you can usually find some way to agree with it while affirming that you believe to be what you believe to be the truth. The patient says, I don't think you're really a doctor. You look much too young. Doctor, thanks. You're not the first to say that, and it's true that I haven't any gray hair and lines on my face. All I can say is I'm a doctor. Linda, no butter for me, Pat. I'm going on a diet. I've heard you tell that one before. You're right in saying I failed in the past, and I can't blame you for not taking me seriously now, but this time I'm getting a doctor's help, and I'm going to make it. So in both of these situations, they agree with the critic's right to an opinion and self-disclose. Finally, bringing your skills together. 2 sample dialogues at the end of the chapter. Dialogue 1, Mary and Roger. I don't believe you'll leave the bank and go into sales. Why do you say that, Mary? Ask for details, right? Well, you've been at the bank for 8 years. True, agrees with the truth. And you're used to getting a regular salary. True again, agrees with the truth. And I just don't think you'll want to give that up. You're right, I don't want to give that up. But I'm excited by the chance to do something new, to make a lot more money. To make a lot more. Agrees with the truth and self-discloses. But aren't you pretty likely to fail? Don't most people who try sales fail? I can see how you might think I'm likely to fail. The figures are pretty grim. But I'm willing to work long hours, and I got a set of Pam Lantos's tape. Agrees with the critic's right to an opinion and self-discloses. I don't know, I just don't think of you the salesman type. Why do you say that? Ask for details. You're not pushy enough. I understand you're thinking most salesmen are pushy, but I plan to be more of a consultant to my customers, and I'm hopeful that such an approach will work. Agrees with the critic's right to an opinion and self-discloses. And now the other dialogue. Father and Elliot. Elliot, your mother and I don't want you to move out. Why don't you like my moving away? Ask for details. That apartment of yours is a lot smaller than our home. Why you could fit the whole thing in your room here? That's true. What about it being smaller bothers you? Agrees with the truth and asks for details. For God's sake, Elliot, you'll be sleeping in the same bedroom with your roommate. What's his name? Doug. That's true. What is there about sharing a bedroom that you don't like? Agrees with the truth and asks for details. Look, Elliot, I know you're not one of them, and your mother and I know you're not one of them, but what will the neighbors think? I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me. Self-discloses. They'll think you're gay. That's what they'll think. You may be right. Why would it? Agrees with the critic's right to an opinion. Why do you want to live there? I think I'll enjoy living near the ocean, and I want to become a little more independent. Self-discloses. Elliot, you're hurting me and thumbing your nose at everything I built. Dad, I can see how you might think that a lot of people my age just blindly rebel against their parents, but that's not the case with me. Agrees with the critic's right to an opinion and self-discloses. And the author finishes the chapter by saying the skills and philosophy behind handling criticism constructively bring to mind the dream of the famous economist Jean Monnet. Monnet hoped that one day, instead of confronting each other on opposite sides of the table, nations and their citizens would learn to share the same side of the table and confront their problems on the other side. And that reminds me, I'll say, of the saying I heard, it's not me against you, it's me and you against the problem. Thanks for spending this time. Be well. Bye.